Welcome to the Friday options expiration session. I just saw you on Charles Payne. Excellent. I love going on Charles Payne. They called me this morning because a lot of these short squeeze names that we've been talking about are on fire today. So that was what I got the request about this morning. People are always asking me when I go on the show, but I just go on the show whenever they call me. They usually call me when some of my picks are on fire and looking great, or, if it's a topic Charles knows that I can talk about. So the reason why I was on today was because of my short squeeze watch list. So let's definitely go through those names. INTU, Galaxy. Did I say a ticker wrong? Oh, no, you did. Okay, got it. RDW, OKLO. I saw that you said a put on Oracle and a call on Palantir. Do you have a recommended trade? Yes, those are already posted in the chat, but I can definitely go over those. Okay, so let's just go ahead and get started. Let's talk about the S&P overall. I mean, we are in this daily squeeze. We've been in this daily squeeze for weeks now. So at this point, we're just continuing to wait to see when this thing is going to break out. It has already met targets once at 70.36. Let's redo this level actually. Okay, so the next upside target is going to be 7,100 with the S&P futures. Looking at the lower time frame charts, you can see that there's also a 195-minute squeeze that's consolidating on the S&P futures, and there's a 15-minute squeeze. So, you definitely have some energy that's building up that's getting ready to take off. Let's look at the NASDAQ just to see what's going on there. So same situation, guys. Really nice consolidation, getting ready to break out. This thing, again, has been consolidating since all the way back, really started December 18th was when it kind of went into the squeeze, but I mean, it's been consolidating for months. So I continue to believe that we're going to get a big breakout move in the indexes. And I do think that earnings is going to be the next big catalyst. If you're looking at Taiwan Semiconductors, we have a situation where Taiwan Semiconductors has already reported earnings. So if you're looking at earnings, and you're thinking, okay, what's going to happen here? Is this going to be a bullish catalyst? Is this going to be a bearish catalyst? In this situation, you can see that Taiwan Semi is one of the first companies to report, and it already broke out to the upside. So that is a great sign. That's typically what I want to see. You definitely want the first couple companies to report that report earnings to do well. Unfortunately, the next two that we have up that are going to be the bigger names are going to be Netflix and Tesla, and neither one of those look very favorable right now. So I'm kind of looking at these, fingers crossed, thinking, maybe Netflix isn't going to have as much of an impact on the market this quarter just because it is already in a downward trend. I guess that's just my hope and wishful thinking because it is, getting destroyed here. When you're looking at that and then you're also looking at Tesla, I mean, I don't see any major bullish catalyst on either one of these charts. So again, just kind of fingers crossed for next week. Well, I guess this one isn't until the 28th. But for Netflix in particular, this earnings report is going to be on the 20th. So let's see, what day is that? It's going to be Tuesday. So that's going to be the most important event, I think, next week. I'm not really anticipating anything great from this stock. So hopefully it doesn't bring down the entire NASDAQ. But that is certainly a potential. And something that I'm looking for next week. So let's keep an eye out for that. I'm not going to do anything for it right now because any earnings trades would need to be done on Tuesday. The thing that I'm the most interested in right here is going to be the short squeezes on top of all of these pre-earnings moves. So if you're looking at my short squeeze watch list, I just sorted these based off of which tickers have the biggest moves. ASTS, huge mover right here. IREN, this one's up 12%. You have SMCI up 11%. You have Rocket Lab up 7.84%. CRWV up 7.5%. SMR is up 7.28%. So when you're looking at all of this and you're just trying to decide, okay, well, what do we do with this? The question for those of you who didn't see the Charles Payne show is which ones of these are current buys, right? Because what will happen is that when these tickers are taking off, um, people want to buy them at the highs. And in the options market, I will buy some of these at the highs just for an options trade, but I don't buy them for investments at the highs, if that makes sense. So let me just go ahead and go through this list right here because I think that this is pretty much the place to focus right now, I think, anyway. So let me bring that up. All right, we'll just go through these one by one. Everything is running a little bit slow for me today. Come on. Basically stuck right at 60. Let's see what the price is here on the S&P futures. Just stuck just below 7,000. So I will continue to watch the S&P and the NASDAQ futures to see if there's an end of day trade that we can do. Right now, I mean, it just looks like maybe a neutral iron condor you could do. But since there's just not a lot going on, I want to kind of focus on some of these other movers. So let's just start with ASTS. Thinkorswim's like the slowest thing in the planet these days. It's like there's so many options trades going on. What do I do? Okay, so for something like this, ASTS, it's only $117, right? And the question is, can we still buy it here? I wouldn't buy it for like a long-term investment up at these levels just because it's, as you can see, it's really extended. But if you wanted to do it just for like a short-term, short squeeze trade, what you want to look for is you want to look for something that's going out on the highs on high volume at the end of the day, because what can typically happen is those can gap up the next time the market opens, which is actually not going to be on Monday, but it's going to be on Tuesday. If you can combine that with a 15-minute or a 30-minute squeeze, that is something that, looks really good. So with ASTS, we do have a 15-minute squeeze. We don't have the 30-minute squeeze. If we look at the 1 hour squeeze, don't have a squeeze there. But I think that overall, with the 15-minute squeeze and the fact that it's only trading at like $116, there is still some upside that could be had if you are interested in being like a more aggressive options trader. So in this case, we have some long calls that, could be purchased out of the money. We have Delta 50, Delta 60, Delta 70s. typically for something like this, I would buy the out of the money calls just because those are going to cost less overall. And with a short squeeze, it can keep exploding. Those are a little bit high in price for me for a Delta 45. I mean, paying $9 for something that's out of the money seems a little expensive. I would rather pay $5 or less. So, you could go um, into the January 30th series. That would give you less time. But I mean, again, the idea with this is okay, can this thing just gap up overnight? So I don't mind the idea of looking at some of these. The 120 strike, 775, still a little bit expensive. Maybe I would just do these Delta 40s and pay $6 for them. Again, really aggressive entry, really aggressive trade. There's better entries that we could take. Rocket Lab is something that, again, is short squeezing and it's up 8%. So could you buy it right here now? I mean, yeah, you could, but you can see how far it's already gone, right? So um when you're looking at this stock, it's like, well, sure, you could buy it. Yes, it would be really aggressive. If you want to buy it, um, the idea would just be, okay, let's see if we can get a gap up into Tuesday, into Wednesday, and kind of take it off there. Um, Looking at some of these others that are better for an entry right now, I think IREN looks great because this one has pulled back. It's shifted. The overall pattern has changed. You can see that there's earnings coming up on the 11th. And so if you look at the lower time frame charts, you can see that there's just a continual increase in pattern to the upside. We also have high volume on these candles, so that looks great. Um, if we look at the 30-minute and 1 hour chart just to see, is there any kind of consolidation that we could buy? In this case, no, because the consolidation was right here when it was trading at 53. We've been talking about this ticker in the trading room like all week. So, um, you know, it's it's looking pretty good after the breakout. As far as can we buy it here? I still think you could, especially because it has the longer term weekly squeeze and it has 17% short float. So, if we look at all that and we say, okay, um, what can we do with this? Because I mean, I think overall, I think the stock can trade up into $90 and even $100 a share. Um, so with all that being said, what can you do? How can you trade it? I mean, I think just buying the shares is a good idea. I like that. I like the idea of buying the long calls all the way out into February. So if we go ahead and look at that and just see, how expensive are those calls? AVGO just popped. Yeah, market's a little bit quiet here. So it looks like probably have to go out into this series right here. So, you could buy like these Delta 60s for $9. I think that's pretty good, especially going out 35 days. It gives you a lot of time. Again, I think just buying the shares would also work as well. And you could also come in and like sell the put credit spreads. Now, again, don't usually sell put credit spreads when something's up like 12%, but it is a short squeeze. So let's just continue going on down this list just to see if there's anything else with a better entry. AVGO just popped. I'm always interested in AVGO. I think a lot of the Mag 7 stocks look pretty dicey right here. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, do I want to start getting back into that? I mean, if AVGO can break up above 350, especially up above 360, I think that's where it could really take off, especially with this next earnings report. Um, so I do really like that. That one's not a short squeeze play. Oh yeah, CIFR looks great. I like this one because it has just broken up above the 50 simple. Anytime you have a stock that breaks out above the 50 simple, that's typically when that incoming volume starts to hit. Um if you look at the earnings report isn't going to be happening until the end of February. So you definitely have time. You have the squeeze. This is also something that, it's a lower price name. And I'm looking for tickers that I can add into my kids' portfolios. Um, and I mean, I have 3 kids now, guys. Can you believe I have 3 kids? When I started this whole thing, I only had 1 kid, and it's just insane to me. You guys have no idea what I have to deal with. I was sleeping on a chair last night, woke up and did Charles Payne. It was great. I have a 15-month-old daughter that yeah, but no zebras. I have a 15-month-old daughter that is like so needy. She's like the sweetest little baby. And I absolutely love having a daughter. She's like a total miracle baby as well, but like she's so needy. And I have found myself. She woke up last night at like 4 o'clock in the morning, of course, and I'm trying to keep her in her own bed. So I've started sleeping on the chair in her room to teach her to sleep in her own crib. So, anyways, that's what I was doing last night. But now that I have 3 kids instead of 1, what I was doing before when I just had 1 kid is I was, working on building his stock portfolio. But now I'm doing it for 3 separate kids. So I'm looking for tickers that are cheaper so that my money will go farther. You see what I mean? You see what the strategy is? Um, so I think this is like a perfect this is a perfect ticker. It's only $18.85. My daughter's like 15 months old. Can buy her, you know, 5 shares of this, 10 shares of this. Like, I'm looking for stocks that have a lot of long-term growth potential that I can buy for these toddlers that, in 15, 20 years they can use if they want to start trading or, for college or whatever. So I think that this one's actually perfect. I have a lot of comments in the chat. Yeah, you got to go for number 4. These last 2 kids almost killed me, so I don't know. We'll see. But they're so cute together. Here, I'll show you guys a picture. She'll take care of you. I hope so. Fractional shares. You should try Hawaii. I'm retired, but when I was your age, I had twin boys. Oh man. Oh man. Oh man. But yeah, I mean, Cipher looks great. Um and as far as like the long-term stock stuff, you definitely want something that has favorable fundamentals and earnings as well. And so you're looking for something that has like a good overall trend on on a fundamental side. A lot of the stuff that I started buying for my now 12-year-old was, well, actually, like the first stock that I bought for Leo was AMD. And at that time, it was like $25 a share. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm looking for these long-term accounts, right? So obviously, you can see that one has done very well. So Cipher, I think, is a good one. Um, As far as the actual entry, I think it looks great for an entry right now. I think that the overall upside price target is going to be about $30, so you still have plenty of upside potential there. Plenty of upside potential. RDW has 15% short float. Is that big enough, or it should be higher? And she cools off by going on national television. And it's so funny because when Fox calls me, I'm like, oh, my daughter's right there. And they call me because it's New York time, and they're like, hey, Danielle, can you come on the show? I'm like, yeah, I can. Yeah, I can come on the show. What time? They're like, what is wrong with this lady? Trying not to wake up the baby. Here's the 2 toddlers. I put all these stickers on the wall. This is Luke in his room. He still has the Christmas lights up, but they're basically like best friends and they love to jump and play in the bed together. So they're pretty cute. Your mom had 5 kids from June 56 to May 62. Amazing. When you mention high volume, how much volume is your benchmark? So, okay, so look at this CIFR chart. Do you see the volume overlay in the background? So, do you see how previously it's not like a certain number, it's not a certain number of shares. It's greater than average volume and it's increasing volume. So, do you see how this stock had, like nothing as far as volume is concerned? And then do you see how this move right here occurred? And do you see how that volume overlay is 2 to 3 times the size of the prior volume? So, when you have a breakout move on 2 to 3 times the average volume, that is something that's usually sustained. And then you can see how the volume went back down, but it was still higher than it was previously. And then do you see how as the stock was breaking out, the volume was continually increasing, 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 increasing. So whenever you have a move that's occurring on 2 to 3 times the average volume for that stock, that's something that is going to be um, significantly more I don't want to say steady, but it's just there's money behind the move, right? So can you see right here on the daily chart? Do you see how the volume went back down when it pulled back? But then do you see how the volume is continuing to come in, continuing to come in, continuing to come in? So what you want to see is every time it breaks to another new high, you want to see it exploding. So for this one, because it has the daily squeeze and it has the earnings report coming up on the 24th, I think I'll just look for some options in February. Looks like it's going to be this series right here. Now you can see that the volume in the options market itself is not very good. So the volume in the open interest, there's just not a lot of contracts here. Typically you want to see a couple hundred contracts of volume and open interest in the strikes you're intending on purchasing. But if the spread is still about 50 cents wide, I'll still do it. And in this case, these options right here, I think it's a pretty good price. I think I could get in. Let's see what I can do. Let's see what I can do here. Let me just see if I can bid lower. I'll do like a mid price. Let's do like 340. All right, so I'm going to start off with those. Look at the February 20 calls. So those do have better volume. I was just trying to buy them. So, it's like, yes, there's higher volume open interest in the monthly series. So if that's the higher priority, you can definitely just snatch these ones up. I was kind of trying to get the earnings series involved because that series is going to have a rise in implied volatility as well. So there's not really a perfect answer. I think either one is fine. The other thing about this ticker is that the earnings report is not set for sure. So it could change. I think February is fine. I think March is fine. I'm just going to start off with these two. And then I think buying long-term shares is fine also. To open, this is a bullish short squeeze trade. I am buying calls in February for a rally going into earnings plus a potential short squeeze. Let me see so it looks like it has a $5 expected move in that time frame. So I don't know if we could see the full price target, but my full price target is $30, but I would take 25. All right. And I just want to make sure that I give you a screenshot of that also. So, do you see how this stock has just this massive move after earnings last quarter? This is the kind of pattern that I like to look for. I do still have CRML, but it's not really doing a whole lot for me right now. So, for those of you in the trading room, I'm going to go ahead and post this chart. Here is a screenshot of the chart. As you can see, it gapped up big after earnings last quarter. Here are the Fibonacci price targets. Okay. New to the room, what are the parameters for the Tuesday iron condor trade? So the parameters for the end of day SPX trade are, let's check out the market internals when we have 30 minutes left in the trading session, which is right now. First you want to take into consideration what the indexes are doing. In this case, it's just a big nothing burger. There's literally nothing happening. You're trading back and forth between 7,000 and 69.80. So in this situation, it's just like, all right, do we want to try to make a directional move here? What's the situation? You always want to think about, okay, at market close, what are people thinking? What are they doing? This is a situation where we have the market closed on Monday because we have a holiday weekend. So, are market participants out there thinking, hey, you know what? I would love to make some buys before the market closes for 3 days. And in that case, the indexes kind of explode at the end. Or are people sitting here saying, oh, you know what? Things are just looking a little dicey here. I just want to take my profits. I just want to get out. I want to get short before the weekend. And then in that case, it just kind of sells off. So, um, those are the different things that you have to think about at the end of the day. What is the psychology going into the end of the day? Um, And then if you are thinking about that, you want to see if you can actually see it via the market internals and via the patterns. So right now, as far as the pattern is concerned, I don't see anything. If this level breaks at 69.80 and starts to flush, then that would be the first sign that people are trying to get out of positions before the weekend, right? Um, Conversely, there's high volume coming in right now. So if that volume starts ripping to the upside, then that could be a buy. Just not really seeing that happen yet. Doesn't mean it won't, but it's not really coming through yet. Um, and then as far as the market internals and the ticks are between negative 600 and positive 600. So you can see that there's just not any major action happening here. If we start to see massive negative ticks, then yeah, that would coincide with a sell off. So, just looking at the market internals and looking at everything here, I mean, I'm leaning towards the market may break here and sell off versus, nothing's really going on. So, do we want to sell a neutral iron condor? Volume's pretty much sideways. Put call ratio is increasing. Sometimes the better choice is to just not trade, guys. There's not always a good end of day trade, and there's just not really anything that is standing out. Let me just look at the options chain. So we're pretty close to 69.50. It's probably going to be the best bet. I still haven't figured out how to use spot gamma. If somebody else has a screenshot, you're welcome to share it. I just listened to Henry, and Henry is not here right now because I am. So thanks for nothing, Danielle. LOL. You guys, you have no idea how many requests I get from different services. Literally just inundated all the time. Danielle, can you use this? Can you use this? Can you put this on your YouTube channel? Can you please use this platform? Can you please, like, literally nonstop? So there's only so many different things I can use, and I figure Henry and John use it. So if they can just distill it for me and post the level, that would be great. Hero negative, one possible gamma at 69.50. I mean, I see 69.50 standing out in the options chain. You have an expected market maker move into the end of the day of $77. You're trading at 69.43 right now. Your high open interest is at 69.50. Yeah, so everybody in the chat is saying huge gamma at 69.50. There you go. We've been in the 69.50 for 3 hours. With who? Henry? John? I was getting ready for my show, so I didn't see what trades they were doing. Not huge gamma here. I'll post a screenshot. Yeah, so I'm looking at the chat from this morning, and it looks like Henry posted, yeah, that the focus is at 69.50. You know what's interesting though is I'm going to the money show in February, and I have a panel that I'm doing with Brent from Spot Gamma. So I guess I better figure out how to use it before then. 69.40 is at the biggest gamma now. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess if I did not get into anything this morning on this. Like I said, if you want to get into it now, there is still 23 minutes of time in which you could do so. There's only a 3-point potential move though. Yes, Wednesday. All of my talks at the money show are on Wednesday. So that's Wednesday, February 25th. So, like I said, it's a little bit, man, anytime we get into options expiration Friday in the SPX, this thinkorswim is just so slow. It's like doesn't know how to handle all of the 69.45, 69.50, 69.55. So this is a pretty good deal because it's going for $1.20. $1.40, and it's $2 in the money. So it's actually like a pretty good deal if you want to do that. I don't normally do my butterflies this tight. Do you post your talk somewhere after the money show conference? I truly don't know what they do with those these days. I'm honestly not sure. Let me give you the link to that. Let's see. Wednesday, February 25th at 10 a.m. Wednesday, February 25th at 12 o'clock. Wednesday, February 25th at 2:30. And I can go ahead and copy the link for you guys. All right. And it looks like I have a ton of questions here. Danielle, let's see. Did you leave American Picker to be a day trader? That was a good show. What? I never have been on that show before. Okay. So if you do want to get into this, it's at a little bit better entry point just because it's pulled back. I'm just not seeing anything great for this today, to be honest. Just not really seeing a whole lot of movement here. Nothing's really going on. Looks like John is looking at a put debit spread, 69.45, 69.40 for $1.30. Put a screenshot of your squeeze watch list in the chat. Sure. And I mean, I can share the watch list too. All right. If I missed your question, now is the time. Just let me know. Oh, man. Oh, well, you tried with what? Oh, posting a link. I mentioned PLTR earlier, thoughts of upside. Yeah, so let's do that. I just feel like everything is just not, we just don't really have a lot of movement going on today, but I haven't adjusted any of my positions because I think they're still good. I just think it's, things are just a little bit slow today is all. So going through that list. Let's start with CRML, and then I'll do Palantir. So for CRML, this was one that I got into 2 days ago because it was up huge and because it has short float, I think. Let me see. Let me just go back and look at the short float on that one. Yes, this one has 20% short float. So I got into it when it was up big. I was hoping that it was just going to gap up the next day because that's what happens a lot of the time with these short squeeze plays. It did not immediately gap up the next day. However, it has continued to consolidate on the lower time frame. So because it's still consolidating here, we have that 30-minute squeeze. That's another setup where it could just gap up again. So I am still holding this, even though it's not, it's not on fire today or anything like that, but I'm still holding it. PLTR, this is one, this is one that I am long right now, but admittedly, it's not looking very good today. So I did talk about this one on the show on Fox Business. The reason why I like PLTR is because it has a long history of rallying before and after earnings. So, admittedly, today doesn't look very good. It's breaking through the 50 simple, it's down like 3%. But at the same time, this stock pretty much always, whenever it's down, like buyers come in. So I'm not fully ready to bail on it right now. I don't love that last quarter it gapped down after earnings, but I feel like that's most likely because it was at a new high right before the report. So I'm looking at it right now. Admittedly, it doesn't look that favorable, but if you look at these earnings hot zone stats, what you can see is that on average in the 21 days before earnings, it typically trades higher by 14.65%. In the 8 days before earnings, it usually trades higher by 5.3%. I mean, that's really big. And then here's the kicker is that in the 8 days after earnings, it normally trades higher by on average 18%. That's huge. So it's kind of like, yeah, it doesn't look great today because it's falling through the 50 simple. I don't know if there was some news or what, but I'm going to give it another day even though my position's down. Oracle and Meta are two that I have that I'm buying puts on. Let me go and look at those. So Oracle's up a little bit today, but this is still a bearish setup. You're underneath the 50 simple. You're falling from this level. You've traded 4 days in a row to the downside. You have a daily squeeze. It got creamed after earnings last quarter. So even though it is up ever so slightly today, I am still short Oracle. Same thing with Meta. So if you look at Meta, this is just not favorable. Yeah, it's bouncing slightly today, up 0.18%, but I mean, this doesn't look good. It got creamed last quarter. It was down 11%. It's underneath the 200 simple. It's underneath the 50 simple. We have earnings coming up on the 28th. And as I pointed out at the beginning of the session, Netflix is going to report earnings on Tuesday. And when you have that earnings report on Tuesday, that's not really in a favorable position because you have this situation where if Netflix reports earnings and it's terrible, some of these other Mag 7s are probably going to pull back too. So I'm still holding my Meta short. Thoughts on SMCI. We also have a request on SEI data center energy play. Do you have a favorite short squeeze right here? I like the IREN and the CIFR. Those two are probably my favorites right now. ASTS and Rocket Lab obviously look great because they're at new highs, but they're just not the best for entry right here. SEI. Let's look at these. Ooh, 40% short float. That is a great one. So this one has not been on my list. Let me go ahead and add that to my list. I love it when you guys come up with new ideas. So this looks like a relatively new name. However, we have at least 3 earnings reports where we've seen big gaps post earnings. That's great. Looks like last quarter, nothing too major there. But, it's still rallying going into earnings, which I find interesting. I would want to do a little bit more research on this stock, but I will tell you that for something that has a pretty good history, it's a short history, right? But it has a pretty decent history of rallying before and after earnings. So because it's already at the new high, it does have incoming volume, which is great. You have an earnings report coming up on the 20th. For all of those reasons, I mean, I would try it. It's also a low price stock, $57. SEI has been doing well. Hopefully, there's an options play. Just post a picture of the list. Okay, here, sorry. Short squeeze list 116.26. Can you look at the QQQ, please? Are you interested in Reddit anymore? Software bad on Palantir. For an options trade on SEI, let me see if there's anything on the options chain. All right, the move is coming in the S&P. You have 8 minutes remaining. You're headed right into 69.50, looks like. So I'm definitely still interested in Reddit for a long-term stock pick. I already got into and out of Reddit. So I got into Reddit down here when it was pulled back for this short-term trade up into the 1618 extension level. I think I took it off. I didn't quite get the high. It was up at like 260. I took it off at like 254 or something like that. So I didn't time it 100% perfectly, but I captured this rally right here and then this random move came through, which was annoying, but I was already out of it. Um so at this point, yes, I would be interested in another entry, especially because now it's down at the 50 simple and it's still consolidating. So absolutely, I think this is a good time for another entry um, in this name. And it looks like I mean, at the minimum, you could probably just sell put credit spreads at 230. I really like the weekly chart pattern in this name. So, one of the main reasons why I've been using this as a stock pick is because of the weekly squeeze. If you look at this pullback into the 34 EMA at 201, it's like bouncing perfectly. Um, and then it's trading up into the 1272 extension. That would be, like 320. And then after that, 350. So, yeah, I like those for sure. Looks like we finally have a little bit of a buy coming through. Yeah, no mo FOMO. Thanks for the coffee. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in Vegas. I know your wife offered to babysit my kids last time. I'm wondering if the offer is still available. Got invited to this poker tournament, but it's really difficult with toddlers, Vegas casino. Let's talk. 7 p.m. on Tuesday. I used to be able to travel all the time, but it's not very easy when I have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. And kind of debating back and forth, like, what do we do? Do we bring them? Do we not bring them? It's not really an option to not bring them because nobody can really watch them. So Henry is the goat for me, but you're getting there. Well, thanks, Paul. All right. Well, I don't see anything else left to do here unless you guys have any remaining questions that I didn't get to. I feel like next week is going to be important. Next week is going to be important because we're going to be getting into earnings. Are you holding IBIT? Yes. So, I knew when I got into IBIT, my entry wasn't perfect. I got in when it started to break out. So I'm not that surprised that it's down slightly. But overall, the setup still looks great. So we have Bitcoin. This isn't a daily squeeze. It's, taking off to the upside. I have an overhead price target here at 105. All of that looks really great. Nothing to complain about. Yes, I'm still in IBIT. Today's just kind of it's just a slow day. There's just not really a lot going on. So when you have these days where there's just not really a lot going on and, yes, the short squeeze tickers are moving, but the market as a whole is just kind of meh. I really don't do a whole lot as far as adjusting the trades that I'm currently in because they're just not really going anywhere. So I'm still holding all the swing positions that I have. I'm always looking for new opportunities. At the end of the day on a Friday, there can be some good opportunities just depending on what's going on. In this case, it's a little unique because we have Netflix earnings on Tuesday. I definitely want to have some bullish and bearish exposure overall, just because I feel like this earnings season is probably going to be really volatile. And I also think it's going to vary a lot because you have tickers like, for example, Google and Amazon that, I mean, these names look really good. They have a lot of relative strength. They're strong going into earnings. I don't really anticipate anything terrible coming from them. Of course, you can always have some sort of surprise. But for the most part, I feel like they're favorable going into earnings. So there's that. If I could just get Thinkorswim to get a little bit faster here, that would be great. John says 69.45 and 69.50 now in play in slow motion. So, Amazon looks pretty good right here, pulled back right into the 21 EMA. It's about to bounce going into the earnings report. But the rest of the Mag 7 does not look good, guys. Meta looks like it's going to roll off a cliff. Microsoft has already rolled off a cliff. This is pretty rare for Microsoft to have a daily squeeze that fires to the downside. And is stuck underneath the 200 simple. So that's not very favorable. If we look at Apple, this one as triggered to the downside. There's always a chance that earnings comes out and earnings is amazing and these tickers, rally hard to the upside. That would be great. But the majority of the Mag 7 names do not look like they're in a favorable technical position going into earnings. So that does put me in a little bit of a weird spot where it's like, okay, because the thing is if the Mag set, if out of the 7 names, if you have at least 4 of them that get hammered on earnings, it's going to bring the indexes lower because of math. So when I'm looking at this and I think, okay, which ones are the ones that could go higher? Google, Amazon, all of the rest of them don't look very good. That's why I feel like it's a good moment in time in the market to have some bearish trades on, have some relative weakness names that you want to short like before earnings or after earnings. And then try to stick to some of these short squeeze names to the upside. Nice. So 69.40 was the strike. So this grid right here is included for members of the Mastering the Trade room. And this is available in the chat. Lorna can post it. This includes my trend strength turbo candles and the turbo VZO. The earnings grid is an extra proprietary add-on. So you have to go to the Simpler Trading store. And this one is called the Earnings Hot Zone. This one took a pretty significant amount of time and effort to code. So that one is an add-on indicator. Yep. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Danielle and JC. Awesome. Well, I am glad that I stayed out of the SPX trade today. At Simpler Trading, how often do you stream? So usually 3 times a week. It just depends, what I'm doing. I do things where like I go to Vegas for the money show. So that week I'm going to be gone and I'm probably going to go to New York here in 3 weeks and I'm going to go see Charles in person, which will be amazing. So for those kinds of things, I'm not here, but for the most part, I mean, I don't really travel very often. As I mentioned, I have 3 small children. So it's a very special treat for me whenever I'm able to go and do anything. So I'm normally in the trading room 3 times a week, sometimes 4, just depends on everybody else's schedule. But usually I'm in on the Tuesday close for an hour, the Friday close for an hour, and then I do the session before the close on Wednesdays, and then sometimes I do the Thursday close also. Remember us when you make it to Fox Business full time? I'm still waiting on my offer. But my husband won't let me move to New York, so I would have to turn it down. It would be sad. It's okay. Maybe someday. Yeah. All right. Well, for those of you in the live stream, if you want to join the trading room, you would get access to those tools that I mentioned by clicking on that link, and you would have access to the schedule and everything else where you can see when I'm available. Other than that, we have an amazing team when I'm not there. But I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. And I'll see you next time, okay? I'm actually going to be out on Tuesday. Unfortunately, I have a medical thing I have to go to, but on Wednesday I will be back. So I'll see you on Wednesday. Bye.